Good morning. So we've got the Proverbs this way. There we go, like that. Oh, I like that better. Okay, so we've got the Proverbs 31 woman today. Can we get it all in one morning? Maybe. Yeah. Let's just dive in and we'll see what we get done. It says in Proverbs 31, verse 10, "Who can find a virtuous wife? For her worth is far above rubies. The heart of her husband safely trusts her, so he will have no lack of gain." A virtuous wife, her worth is far above rubies. First off, I had forgotten this, and then I looked down my Bible, and there's a little note there that 10 to 31 is an acrostic. So just like Psalm 119 and other Psalms, this is an acrostic. It's going through, and it is, A, B, Aleph, Beth, and so you're going to go through the Jewish alphabet. A wife of valor. That's what it's saying. A virtuous wife, literally a wife of valor. She has excellence to her. Who can find an excellent wife? I'm going to adjust this again. When I switched over to a different setup, oh, I like that a little better. Anyway, I have a new camera holder thing, and it doesn't hold my camera as steady as my old one did. But this virtuous wife, right? Her worth is above rubies. Her husband safely trusts her, so he'll have no lack of gain. So right off the bat, oh, that's amazing. My wife just sent me a heart and a kissy face emoji. Right as I said that, that warms my heart. So he'll have no lack of gain. That means he can trust her with the credit card. It's kind of funny, but that's one thing, is that this wife, this virtuous wife, she's going to be a contributor to the household. She's going to have all these great things. So let's just read through, and I'm going to explain it as we go. I'll try and keep it short and sweet. And so it says, she does him good and not evil all the days of her life. Good reminder that this is also the model wife, i.e. the perfect wife, the dream wife, not the normal wife. I'm not saying that against my wife or any other wife out there, but it's just like if you talked about what a husband ought to be and try to inspire men what they ought to be. And realistically, the truth is the whole Bible is a book about what men ought to be. And there are far fewer passages that are giving women direct guidance. Sometimes people feel like, well, this bar is just so high and it's not realistic. Well, no, the bars are always high in the Bible. And this is something directly for women, because men are supposed to be everything else you read in the Bible. Every list of what we ought to be. That's what men are called to be. Women are too, of course. But men are specifically in the marriage relationship, are to love their wives as Christ loved the church. Men are supposed to be Christ-like. So just, the bar is high for both. Anywho, but here we go. She seeks wool and flax and willingly works with her hands. So she does work. She is like the merchant ships. She brings food from afar. So once again, she's providing for her home. My wife will go down to Tri-Cities, and she'll shop at Winco because there's better deals from there. So she knows to go off, and maybe let's make this whole day about how my wife is the Proverbs 31 woman. Man, I could just back right up, right? I trust her. If anyone's the spender in my family, it's me. It's way more than my wife. Does him good and not evil, that's her. Seeks wool and flax, willingly works with her hands, and she's always doing stuff around the house here. She also rises while it's yet night and provides food for her household and a portion for her maidservants. So once again, it is very normal for my wife to be prepping breakfast the night before. I will see her while there is no sun out and she has breakfast going. And so it's something on my wife's heart. But again, it's taking care of the food. 16, she considers a field and buys it. From her profits, she plants a vineyard. Truth be told, this is not something my wife excels at, and that's okay. I don't want to embarrass her and make this all focused on her, but this is showing her investing. That the Proverbs 31 woman doesn't just sit at home or do women's work, but here she's investing money. It's like the stock market. She sees a field, she buys it, she gets profits, and she plants a vineyard. It says she girds herself with strength and strengthens her arms. My wife likes to work out. But once again, I mean, to do all this work, you have to be healthy and in shape. There was no place for an out-of-shape woman in these days. I mean, that's the idea, was that we, men and women today, Christians, we ought to be in healthy enough shape to do the ministries and stuff God has called us to. She perceives that her merchandise is good and her lamp does not go out by night. So once again, her merchandise is good. So she understands, high quality. Her lamp does not go out by night. She's prepared. She's thinking ahead. So she's thinking in towards the quality of her products. She's thinking ahead to make sure she's got oil to make it through the night. She stretches out her hands to the distaff and her hand holds the spindle. So once again, she's doing the work herself. She extends her hand to the poor and she reaches out her hands to the needy. So it's just kind of showing her hands are here working and then her hands are over here giving and supporting people. She's generous. She's not afraid of snow for her household, for her household is clothed with scarlet. So once again, she's planning for her home. She's preparing. She's seeing the needs of her kids. I think this describes many a women, and especially many a women of yesteryear. The reality is that these are the kind of moms that many of us all had in many ways. And sadly, I do think the bar is lowering and lowering of just what is expected of people. She makes a tapestry for herself. Her clothing is fine linen and purple. So again, it's beautiful and eloquent stuff. Her husband's known in the gates when he sits among the elders of the land. So her husband sits among the gates. Now that is a phrase, to sit in the gate, that very directly in the Hebrew and in the culture meant you were a leader. The king sat in the gate. The generals sat in the gate. The elders sat in the gate. And he says among the elders. And so she's at home doing all this stuff. She's staying super busy. Well, her husband is in a position of prominence for their whole family. And so it shows the importance of he can sit in the gate because she has got things on lockdown at home. And they're working as a team here. And that's the idea, is that he couldn't do that without his wife. She makes linen garments and sells them. She supplies sashes for the merchants. It's just, again, kind of more of the same. Strength and honor are her clothing. She shall rejoice in time to come. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and on her tongue is the law of kindness. So again, like, not only does she have all this hard work and practical stuff, but she's also wise and kind. So obviously she's got information to share as well. She watches over the ways of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. I think that's a problem we see today, is a lot of people are pretty lazy, and there's no place for a lazy, well, no place, I'm not trying to sound mean, but what I mean is there's no place for a lazy housewife. Why? Because it's not easy. I think that's the emphasis, is it's not easy to take care of a house. It's not easy to do all these things. I used to like the old country song. I don't even know who wrote it, but Mr. Mom. And it's the story where, like, the husband, lost his job. And so the wife says, well, it's okay. You can stay home and I'll go out and work while you look for another job. And he's like, oh, good. How hard can that be? And the whole song is just this big run-on kind of, it's a funny, silly song about, the dad going crazy trying to take care of the home because it's not easy. And so to be idle at home making is probably just as dangerous as being idle out on the job site where you're going to get fired. Idle at home, everything's going to fall apart. So laziness is antithetical to the Christian. We are not to be lazy. You don't get to just stay at home and be lazy. All right, idleness. Okay, verse 28, her children rise up and call her blessed, and her husband also, and he praises her. So again, kids and husbands do recognize their hardworking mom, wife, and they ought to, because she's worth recognizing. And I've always loved these last verses, and I've put them on many a things for my own wife. Many daughters have done well, but you excel them all. Beauty and charm. Charm is deceitful, and beauty is passing, but a woman who fears the Lord, she shall be praised. Give her the fruit of her hands, and let her own work praise her in the gates. And so that's kind of the idea, is that her work is going to praise her. The fruit of her labors are going to show what kind of woman she is. But last night at the youth study, we did mention, like charm is deceitful and beauty is passing, but a woman who fears the Lord shall be praised. We just talked about how, I think what I told them, I love the youth. They have so much fun. I said, hey guys, just remember that girl might look crazy hot right now, but in 40 years, she'll still be crazy and maybe not as hot. They all laughed and they kind of got what I was saying. We were just talking about, we were in 1 Timothy and talking about how inward beauty, that women need to be remembering that the inward beauty is the important thing, and how Paul is exhorting there in verse 9 of 1 Timothy 1 or 1 Timothy 2:9. That, women should not be caught up in outward looks and outward things, because, I'm sure if you're over the age of 30, you realize that it begins to decline. And that's okay, because if you're inwardly beautiful, that stuff's not as big of a deal, right? In all honesty, the less inward beauty you have, the more you need to bank on outward beauty. I said it. There we go. And it's probably not a good thing. I'm not saying, well, I have no inward beauty, I better buck up and really put that outward beauty on. It's like, no. Look at here. Because you'll notice that there's nothing in the Proverbs 31 about how attractive this woman is. Physically attractive. And the only thing about physical attraction mentioned in Proverbs 31 is that charm is deceitful and beauty is passing. The real beauty is that woman knows how to buy a field. And she knows how to sell its profits. And she knows how to make sure the lamp doesn't run out, that they don't turn the power off on us. It's funny how couples, they break up things, and, everyone's different. But it's like in my house, it was always Nicole handles paper bills, I handle digital bills. That's our way of dividing things. She writes checks and I set up auto pays. And so, but it is, she makes sure that things are running and things are going the way they should. And it's like, that's attractive. And that is something that doesn't go away with time, unlike beauty, that will pass away. So, a beautiful thing, the Proverbs 31 woman. And again, it shows a woman who's working, who's busy, her kids, that she is making income, that it's not necessarily a woman who, that it's unbiblical for a woman to have income. Now, again, though, she also is over her home. So it's one of those things like, can you make income and still be over your home? A woman with a side job, a woman with a home business, or like my wife who picks up very seldomly picks up shifts as a nurse. But that's the idea. Anyway, beautiful passage. We all know it, but there we go. I don't know where we're going next, people. So maybe you guys need to come up with a plan, and we'll figure out where we head to next. I could just go straight on into Ecclesiastes, and then we could do Song of Solomon. Those are like all some of my favorite books. So I guess we shall see. All right. God bless you guys. Have a great day, and I will see you guys tomorrow morning.